Good afternoon. As you can see, I'm back in a familiar setting down to Doc's apartment. And the reason for that is there's been a death in my family. It was my brother-in-law, a husband of my sister Anne, that I'm very close to. There's only 3 of us left, and my sister Linda and youngest sister Linda and my sister Anne. And both Linda and me have been keeping very close track of Anne because her health isn't very good. She's like 74 and, or not quite 74, and she doesn't have a pancreas, so who knows what this could have done to her. And Doc, I needed to rely on somebody, and so Doc had to fill that bill. And I thought today when I was going to make this video, well, since I relied on him for days and days while my brother-in-law was dying of cancer, 2 kinds of cancer, not just, he suffered from 4 kinds, but, and so you can imagine that his death was not easy. And I had to come down here every day, and he'd say, well, what's happened now? And I'd tell him, and he would either say a denigrating remark or something, and that way I was able to get through.
I might be snickering in the background.
Oh yeah, well, he always says, you know, simple little things. He'll say, I never heard of such a thing. We don't do that. We didn't do that. I've never heard of people acting like that. No, now that we're having the memorial services, he's never heard of a program, for heaven's sake, for a memorial service. But I'm telling you today, there's something very awesome about a death in the family, especially when there's so many of them, like all of their kids, or well, at least 3 of them, belong to the Mormon faith, and they're active. And my sister and her husband were what you'd call Jack Mormon. They had all the Mormon activity going on around them, living in Utah in a Mormon town, but they just didn't get there. And I remember Ann telling me that one day one of the men in town that she talked to quite often said, well, you know, I've been observing you, Ann, and there's not a whole lot wrong with you. You're a good, because she wasn't active, you're a good woman. You need to
I have been observing you now for going on 7 years, and there's a whole lot wrong with you, but I don't go around telling people.
Yeah, and so, but her husband was like, he was what you'd call a Jack Mormon.
I think that's a denigrating.
You know, people couldn't really come and pray over him because all he wanted to do is smoke. And he was dying of smoking, lung cancer, but he still, yeah. So, and you know, the good Mormon ladies, some of them that were good Mormon ladies, most of them in the care center just couldn't understand why he was still wanting to go out and smoke when he was almost expired. And he said, I'm not going to change at this late date. So I wish people would stop trying to get me to do something else besides what I want to do.
Should I throw in my little uncle?
And just reminded, yeah, smoking till the end. But I thought I'd make this video
Let
too.
me just finish this story. This is my mother's younger brother, and he smoked and drank all his life. And I think when he was somewhere in his probably late 70s or whatever, he came up with lung cancer. Well, you know, what's a surprise, you know? So they gave him radiation treatments for that, and of course all his hair fell out. And so he ended up being bald. And did he stop smoking? No. Why?
Some men are very stupid.
He's not going to stop smoking. He said, well, he said, at least I know where I'm going, right?
I don't know.
And then when my dad, at 84, gets Hodgkin's disease, and he said, well, you know, it's terminal. We opened you up, and we're going to close you back up. You got 6 months to live. My dad said, have you got anybody got a gun here?
Oh,
let me finish the story.
That sounds like talk.
My dad, and the doctor said, well, you can take radiation treatments, you know, and he's, oh no, I'm not taking radiation treatments. I saw it in my brother-in-law. He lost all his hair, and he still died, and I want to be buried with my hair. So I'm not taking any radiation treatments. And you know what? He didn't. And guess what? He still died. But he died with his hair. You see the difference?
That was important to him.
Right.
And Tom, my brother-in-law, died still smoking. But I'm not in favor
Nothing
of
wrong.
that. I am not in
Did the same
favor
thing.
of people dying of lung cancer. I'm really not. And so I'm hoping that some people listen to this cautionary tale about what happens. You know, when you're younger, smoking just doesn't seem to be that harmful. But believe you me, when you get our age, in our 70s and on up, smoking is, you pay. You may pay even younger. So, anyway.
Yeah, should I tell you one about my dad? Started smoking when he was 16. And when he was 50, he got diagnosed with lung cancer. This is my dad now.
Mm-hmm.
So they went, took him in the hospital, took about a quarter, maybe a third of his lung out. Obviously, he quit smoking, and obviously they didn't have cancer anymore.
Yeah, he didn't die of cancer.
Not then.
And
But
then
30 years later, had nothing, I don't know, doctors said it had nothing to do with it.
Nothing to do with cancer, with less smoking. But anyway, I wanted to say today that I'm very proud of how the people who are of the Mormon faith have behaved in this trial. It was a trial for all of us. And the ones who weren't of the faith for different reasons, like myself, my sister, my two sisters, they rallied around and have been very supportive of my sister Ann. And because her caretaking became so stressful that finally she got dizzy just sitting down and had to go to emergency. So we were all on edge. Oh, because you see, last year, my other sister, Margie, was the caretaker to her 90-year-old husband, and she was only 78. Well, to all our shock and dismay, my sister suddenly died after a minor toe surgery the day before her husband died. Well, so instead of one viewing, there were two. So everybody was calling my sister, now we don't want Ann, we don't want you to leave. And she even dreamed that night, after she got her dizzy spell, that my sister Margie knocked on the door and hollered at her, Ann, are you ready to go? Well, she took it that meant, are you ready to go?
Go where? Wait, can I ask you a question?
She said, no, I'm not ready.
Can I ask you a question?
What?
Did they get a 2 for the price of 1 funeral on your other sister when both of them died within a day? I would think they'd give them a discount.
You mean they give them a bargain?
Yeah, give 2 for the
I
price
really
of
don't
one
know,
today.
but we didn't care whether my sister could get a bargain price or not. We didn't want her to, granted, she doesn't have a whole lot of years left, neither do I. But every one of our years is precious to us. And
you say it, but you don't mean it.
We didn't want our sister Ann to join her husband that soon. It'll be soon enough, so when she does. And I didn't, and I've been having a terrible time. I've had hives. I don't know if it's caused from thinking about 4 kinds of cancer, getting worse and worse and worse, or what. But my skin was crawling. I don't know, but we'll see. Because finally it's over with, the ordeal is over with. I can stop worrying about my sister. I think she's come through it. There's not going to be 2 deaths. There's just, he has gone, and I think my sister has survived. So this ordeal has come to an end pretty much, and I'm sure in a few days my sister will recover and feel like she could live forever, like I do. I feel like I could live forever. And you know, when you feel good,
well,
you're
sure
not thinking about dying or anything. You just feel,
oh, jeez.
and so, but
Whatever
when a death happens in the family, you're reminded.
Whatever
get
happened
ready.
To the part about till
Get
death
ready.
do us part, right?
Get ready. Get ready.
Till death do us part. I don't have to die and find out. I got 4 ex-wives. I don't want to meet any one of them. Holy girlfriends up the bazoo. Holy crap. This reminds me of the movie 8 1/2.
Well, I'll tell you right now, death will be our divorce, so don't worry about it. I mean, I'm surely not going to die the same time he does, so we'll get used to having a break, and I don't want to argue with him about the same things that I'm arguing with him here.
Suicide?
No. You can die however you want to.
Well,
but,
murder-suicide, right? Suppose.
But I have found out that I can't. I threw him off my videos, and I probably might have to throw him off again. But I said there's no sense of me saying that I didn't have to depend on him during this ordeal. And I didn't have to call on him to help me get through it. And he responded in his exasperating way, but he had mercy, you know. He would ask me every day, well, what's happened now? So, yes, a death in the family can unite people if they're supportive, and he has managed to be supportive of me.
The problem is that you didn't finish. Actually, I didn't really. First of all, I used to say, I know I'm going to be sorry I asked this, but what happened today, right?
Yes, that is more or less
how
he questioned me.
No, I'm going to be sorry to ask this.
But anyway, I'm grateful.
Well, thank you, ma'am. I really appreciate that.